Phone's off. $50 fine.
That's my dog.
Good afternoon. It is time for the Legal and Finance Committee meeting for the City of Rapid City, July 31, 2024. We'll begin with a roll call and determination of quorum. Who? Here? Okay. Next, we'll move on to, I think so when Josh was talking, but next item is adoption of the agenda.
Move to approve.
Second.
We've got a motion by Sechrist and a second by Evans to adopt the agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Now is the time for general public comment. This is a time for the members of the public to discuss or express concerns to the council on any issue not on the agenda. Action will not be taken at the meeting on any issue not on the agenda, except by placement on the agenda by unanimous vote of the council members present. And I don't believe I have any speaker request forms, so I'm going to go ahead and close general public comment. And now we're going to move on to consent items 1 through 17. First, I guess, is does any member wish to pull any items from the consent? Okay, I want to pull 17. And then we'll go to, I guess, can I get a motion to approve the minutes of the last meeting? Motion by Sechrist and a second by Evans to approve the minutes of the July 10 meeting. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Then we'll go to the mayor's office. Who's going to, anybody handle that one? Okay. That'll just go on consent, I suppose. Then we'll go to the finance department next.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The first item is just several different volunteers that will be added to our workman's comp policies. Those are volunteers for various different departments. Item number 4, the June 2024 Treasury and General Fund update. Out of our $220.8 million, 75.1% is invested in various different means. And I am happy to report that the general fund undesignated cash balance is at $2.9 million. But again, just know it's a little higher now. And over the next couple of months, it'll probably be a little higher, and then it'll start going down. The reason why it'll start being higher is just because the sales tax is higher during the summer months. And so please don't start looking at that as cash available to do a lot of new projects or initiatives, I guess. Item number 5 is the May sales tax report. I'm happy to note in the 2% month over month, the month of May was up 4.69%. Year over year, we are trending 3.88% higher than in 2023. What is very significant, though, is in the BBB or the tourism fund, we are up for the month of May 10.3%, so very significantly. And for the year, we are up 4.48%. And then we just prepared our annual report on the malt beverage licenses that are available for video lottery based on our population. If the council were to so choose, you could add 2 additional licenses. Again, that's just for your information. If the council would ever want to make that known, we could prepare that if you'd like to proceed. And then item number 7, actually 7, 8, and 9, and 10 are all resolutions that are dissolving tax increment districts that have been completed. And we do have our tax increment planner, Mike, who is in the audience. Yeah, right there. He would be able to answer any questions that you might have in further detail. But I do want to note that all of these projects that are being dissolved, you can see a substantial increase in the overall assessed value. And I think that's really important for everyone to know that, yes, it does through the tax increment finance districts. It does delay some of the additional property tax revenue that the city and the county would receive, but by doing so, you're able to catalyze really enhanced new developments. And so, for example, the largest one that you would look at Cabela's, and that's item number 8. That was tax increment district number 64. That was established in 2007. That district at the time had an assessed valuation of $8.7 million. Now it has an assessed valuation of $105 million. So that is definitely going to make a difference in the amount of property taxes that both the county and the city receives. And without the use of the tax increment financing, there would have had to have been a direct payment out of the general fund to incentivize that development, because there were several communities West River that were looking at that. So I think these are just great things to note, that tax increment districts have really done a good job in Rapid City in enhancing our overall assessed valuations. Item number 11 is canceling some checks that have not been cashed over the past year. The total is $24,474.59. Item number 12 and 13 are brought forward by our grants division manager, Jamie, who is here if you have any specific questions. But item number 12 is for the West Nile virus grant. It's a combination of our Parks and Recreation as well as our stormwater departments. They are looking at using the $15,000 for some additional equipment. And then item number 13 is an annual award that we received that funds PD's high-risk youth coordinator. Are there any questions?
Go to Councilman Maher.
So with all these TIFs paying off, or the districts being absolved, what is our capacity for additional TIFs? I mean, I think there's a limit how much we can do by state law or something.
State statute does limit the total amount of base valuation in all of the TIFs for the community to not exceed 10% of the total assessed valuation within the municipality. As of our last TIF report, our total valuation in TIFs, or base valuation, was just over 1%. I think, and so there's a significant amount of capacity that the city still has.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the committee? If not, I'll take a motion on items 2 through 13. Motion by Evans, second by Maher, to approve items 2 through 13. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Next, we'll go to the fire department. Chief Culberson.
Thank you, Chair. Members of the committee, we're asking to enter into a professional services agreement with Monument Health to provide our physicals for our operational level employees that are compliant with NFPA 1582. This isn't anything new. We're just changing our provider at this point. It's well known that the career of being a firefighter is extremely dangerous and hazardous to your health, and we like to keep up on their medical care and do a lot more preventative type care for them, so we can keep up on what's happening within their body so they can make sure they make it to retirement. So NFPA is the National Fire Protection Agency, and they are kind of the recommending body on how fire departments should operate, and we follow them quite readily. We don't follow them to the letter of the law because they're recommending, because they have some things that don't make sense in our department to do. So this is just allowing us, we were with a different provider prior to, and we're now switching to Monument Health after doing an informal RFP.
Motion by Biberdorf, second by Segrist, to approve item 14. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Next item, I guess that a real quick question. What was the status, Chief, of the workers' comp bill for fire fire departments.
And you're talking about the cancer bill?
Yes, that was in the
It
legislature.
was delayed to the 41st day, so effectively got killed. Division Chief Brian Pavander's been doing a great job on that aspect and been working with work comp. 2 weeks ago, he was in peer meeting with them, and it's moving forward. They're taking a different tact. I think it'll come back to the legislature this next year with something that will be palatable to everyone. So,
Thank you for that update. I'm sorry, Chief Hedrick?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was just going to comment on the next item. I was just ready to roll in
Yeah.
the queue.
No, yeah, please do.
Okay, thank you. And if it's okay with you, Mr. Chair, I'd like to invite the program manager, Jamie Kirsch, and Tiffany Petro from the Children's Home Society to come up and talk a little bit about this item, if you're okay with that.
Certainly.
Thank you, sir, and thank you, committee, for allowing us a chance to talk about this really innovative partnership with Children's Home Society. So what we're doing is we're taking already approved funding, council-approved funding with the Community Violence Intervention and Prevention Initiative grant that we've secured, and taking some unallocated funding and allocating it toward a partnership with Children's Home Society. And this would be helping us provide proactive support to young folks in the community who have a higher level of need for intensive case management. We've been working with Tiffany's team in the Family Engagement Services space and have referred quite a few of the young folks that we get referred by officers to her team. We also, in our intervention work in neighborhoods, often come across young people who are exposed to many traumatic experiences and are making some serious disclosures in our clubhouse environment and in other events that we host in the neighborhoods. And they don't always rise to the level of the legal system, and so we're hoping through the therapeutic system that we can provide these young folks and their families with some early intervention support and wraparound case management services. And so this will provide us with a staff person on contract with no requirement to continue funding once the grant is over, to co-locate somebody with our team at the Rushmore or the Uptown Mall substation, and to join us in this work in the community. It helps us reach many goals as a part of the Community Violence Intervention and Prevention Grant, including developing some robust data measurement goals that we can track over this 2-year contract, and show that having this type of partnership in place and having community organizations join us on the front lines can have a great impact with some of these families experiencing traumatic instances in our community. And I'll let Tiffany speak to the CHS side.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. Thank you for allowing us a chance to present this opportunity. So Children's Home Society has this unique ability through that therapeutic lens to provide a tiered level of support for our families that we serve, prioritizing youth that are either already system involved or at risk of system involvement. Through our agency, we also have an existing memorandum of understanding with the key players, in our community that allows us to share information already. So we have that existing connection. We are excited to partner in this. It will expand the opportunity for the number of families that we can serve. And what we're seeing, because our case managers are already involved in so many spaces, that we're seeing the same families or often the same types of families come in and need those supports. And so by having this collaborative approach, we're able to better assess their needs, get them connected to services, whether that be through Children's Home or other partners in our community, and hopefully get them on the path to healing sooner.
Thank you. Any questions from the committee? I have one quick one. So this is going to be located at Uptown Rapid?
Yes, so we currently have a substation there that houses our community engagement team, and so we have office space already prepared for this partnership.
And then the facility on Highway 16, when is that scheduled to be operational? Or is it now? I mean,
Exciting news. So we have some of our team members that will be inhabiting part of that campus here shortly within the next few weeks, because we have, in addition to our multitude of other services, have brought on a psychiatric doctor. And so we'll have a continuum of care at the West River campus, as we're calling it right now until it has a name. And then this person will be co-located with Jamie and the team there, but will be trained, have all the same onboarding as all CHS employees. So they'll be dual citizens of sorts, in that they'll be immersed fully in both teams, and may spend some time up at the new campus as they're building relationship with our therapists, our psychiatrists, other case managers.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion by Sechrist and a second by Bieberdorf to approve. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. I'll go to community development for items 16 and 17.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Item 16 is a historic preservation item to replace windows at 721 West Boulevard, a finding of no prudent and feasible alternative than to replace the windows. Sarah Hansel is here from our department. She is the projects planning division manager, and she was available to speak if you have any questions for her.
Any questions for Sarah? Okay. And then, Kip, are you handling 17?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Item 17 is a contract to enter an agreement with HDR Engineering for our Safe Streets and Roads for All Safety Action Plan. Last year, we were awarded a grant from the U.S. Department of Transportation to complete a Safe Streets and Roads for All Safety Action Plan, which will be a deep dive into the safety of all throughout our community and identify some high-risk locations for all users of the transportation system, not just vehicular, but pedestrians, bicyclists, any sort of micro-mobility users, transit users, things like that. And that'll give us a prioritized list of projects that we can look at. And the most exciting thing is once we have this action plan in place, then it opens us up to a large pool of funding from the U.S. Department of Transportation to allow us to construct those infrastructure improvements through grant programs and not using city funds, using federal funds instead. This grant, again, was completed with the help of our grants division. Jamie's here in the audience as well. $200,000 grant. There was a 20% city match for that, so it's 80% funded by Safe Streets and Roads for All program.
Thank you, Kip. I'll go to Lindsay Sechrist.
Thank you, Chair. Kip, I wanted to just ask what the process looks like for community planning and public works working together when we're planning for future roadway improvements in the community and identifying where we could create some efficiencies and alternative transportation options. Is there a working relationship, or what's that process like internally for you guys?
So we review and comment on all development applications. So we do provide those comments both to Public Works, and Public Works provides those comments on any development applications for subdivisions and any development projects throughout the community. And I see Director Fisher up at the podium, so I will defer to her, please.
I didn't
Thank
even
you.
notice her sneak in there.
I didn't either.
I was just keeping the seat warm for her.
Mr. Chair,
Please.
that's an excellent question. In addition to what Kip just shared with you, we do have a major street plan that we do take forward for public comment as well. And in looking at that, we do want to find efficiency and ensure that where those tax dollars are being spent is going to promote economic growth, residential development to support that economic growth. So it is really a balance tool, and it's one of those reviews that does require quite a bit of public input. And so our method as we work together has been very successful in the past, and we will continue doing that going forward.
Great. Thank you very much for the explanation. I appreciate that, and congratulations on the award.
Vicki, I've got a quick question or two. So Jamie in our grants division was able to obtain this grant. So what was the impetus for that, or for making the application?
Jamie is here. Do you mind if I
Sure.
defer to her?
Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You had mentioned some, before she gets up there, you had mentioned some community input in the Safe Street program. And I got a lot of community input from a person last year who was injured in a bicycling accident. And she had some suggestions about what might be done to make it safer for bicycles and things like that. I didn't know if that had anything to do with that or not.
It does in part. You know, we partner well, not only with Public Works, with DOT as well, because many of our streets going through the city are actually state streets. And so when we've got collision reports or any other type of accident, whether it be a pedestrian getting hurt or a bicyclist, we share that. And we do that through our MPO committees. And if any of you have ever sat on any of those, you are aware that there's a deep dive into collaborating not only between the city and the state, but we look at our adjacent communities. What could we do to improve transportation with Box Elder, Somerset, Piedmont? And in these meetings, there is a lot of public input. When we take adopted plans, like the Major Street Plan, before the council for approval, we take those to many open house meetings and other public input sessions, and that's what I was referring to when I said that as we look at prioritizing where we need our next connection, our next improvement, that there is ample public improvement, and we'll continue on with that practice.
Thank you. Jamie?
Hey. So this was a grant opportunity that came to our attention last year, and we reached out to Kip with his involvement with planning in the MPO to talk about if it made sense for our community. One of the things, and Kip can chime in at any point, but we have our major streets plan, we have our transit plan, we've got several of these. The opportunity that this is going to provide is really taking a broader scope of looking at all of those, as well as bringing in additional and new community input and prioritizing that. And so that's one of the things that we're really excited about. By that prioritization, then we can be more strategic in how we invest both local dollars as well as potential federal and state dollars into those. And like you said, this is looking at all aspects of transportation. And so, you know, it's an opportunity to really work across the board on things.
Thank you. Motion by Sechrist and a second by Bieberdorf. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Brings us to the end of consent items. And now we go to the non-consent calendar, and I'm going to open public comment on the non-consent calendar and have no speaker request forms. I'm going to close public comment on the non-consent items. And I'm going to call upon Mr. Huber and Mr. Litton for the Black Hills Area Community Foundation.
Thank you, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Chris Huber. I'm the CEO of the Black Hills Area Community Foundation. We were asked to come speak today about the Vision Fund's impact on affordable housing, specifically the $5 million allocation that we received last round for the Rapid City Strategic Housing Trust Fund. So we're going to talk a little bit about the projects that are going to get funded because of that $5 million. We're going to also talk about the money that was raised because of that $5 million and how we were able to leverage that. But I'm going to start with what the Strategic Housing Trust Fund is, how it operates. So the Strategic Housing Trust Fund is held at the Black Hills Area Community Foundation and administered by our team. It's a pool of money to incentivize development for below market rate housing. We provide low interest loans or could be grants in some cases for multi and single family new construction, rehabilitation, or retention of existing affordable housing. We're designed to be a really small part of the capital stack, and so a flexible piece of funding, but no more than 5% of the total project cost, where we can come in at the end and really make this project go for developers. It's been a really great model, and it's working well. We're guided by a local advisory board. That local advisory board is made up of 17 experts all across Rapid City, bankers, developers, city staff, Vicki Fisher, Sarah Hansel, and Michelle Schulke all sit on that advisory board. They make recommendations on loans, and then they go to the Black Hills Area Community Foundation Board for final approval. These funds are held at the Black Hills Area Community Foundation, so we can accept charitable gifts, and we have quite significant charitable gifts coming in. So that's really wonderful. It creates a great public, private, and philanthropic partnership to get more affordable housing done. Because we're giving loans out and and not grants. It's a revolving loan fund. It's going to have generations of impact. That money is going to recycle back. We'll give it out for more loans for more projects. And the Vision Fund dollars specifically are held in a standalone account used for only affordable housing projects within Rapid City limits. Before we get to the projects that we've funded, I want to talk about what the $5 million allocation leveraged in additional capital for the Housing Trust Fund as well. This started with the John T. Vukurovich Foundation putting up a $5 million challenge match where they had asked the city to come in with our Vision Fund application and fund that level at $5 million. Thank you all for that. You did, and so we got that full match from the John T. Vukurovich Foundation. We had also secured a separate match from an anonymous private foundation for another $1 million. So if the city came in at $5 million, they would give us another $1 million, creating $11 million in capital from your $5 million investment. So really great return there on the capital. With that, I want to turn it over to our Director of Strategic Housing, Greg Litton. He started in December and has done great work for us at the Black Hills Area Community Foundation. He's going to talk about the 3 specific projects that we funded using those Vision Fund dollars.
Good afternoon, Chair and Committee. As Chris said, my name is Greg Litton, and I am the Director of Strategic Housing for the Black Hills Area Community Foundation. First, want to talk about the return on investment we've achieved thus far for the entire Strategic Housing Trust Fund. And then, as Chris said, I want to take a closer look at what we've used the Vision Funds for and the 3 specific projects that those have helped impact. As of today, for the entire trust fund, loans have either been issued or committed to 6 projects in Rapid City. We are currently in the process of considering another 3 applications, which we hope to have either approved or some positive movement on in the next month or so. With those 6 loans, the impact that we're getting in our community, it will create 545 housing units. Unfortunately for us, we're not able to drill down to the exact number of residents that we're able to impact, but we do know that those 545 housing units will create 1,074 bedrooms for our residents here in Rapid City. The other thing that our proof of concept has allowed us to do is take our Strategic Housing Trust Fund model to our neighboring communities. And with the capacity we have at the foundation, we're able to provide them with a lot of the administrative support. And we're currently in the process of working with about 8 of our other neighboring communities to set up similar Strategic Housing Trust Funds. So next, want to talk about the projects that are specifically supported by Vision Funds. So Springs Edge is a facility that we did in partnership with Lloyd Companies. This project is online and available for unit leasing currently. Lloyd did an amazing job of putting this facility in a larger complex that also includes market rate units. If you drive by them, you would never be able to notice the difference on the outside of the buildings. They did an incredible job of matching colors, using the same product, so that no one would be able to say this unit is affordable and this is market. If you get inside, again, incredible job of matching a lot of the finishes. One of the things that we know as from our research is that if you can get folks from different socioeconomic classes in the same neighborhood, that is a benefit to everybody. So online, down by Walmart on the south side of town. Next project is Blackstone Flats. This was another great partnership with Lloyd and also brought in the Club for Boys to provide additional services to the residents in our, I guess, nomenclature, generally called wraparound services, and we take a lot of those into consideration when we decide to support projects. So this loan closed just at the end of June, and they started construction process. This will be located at the intersection of North Creek Road and North Valley Drive. Just for reference, that's just north of the Menards. And that should be online hopefully in June of 25. All right, third project, and I think there's probably a lot of people that know about this project, Camden Heights. I know they're going through several approval processes with the city right now. So this one, we have not issued the loan on yet, but hope to by the end of this fall. This will be located on the hill right behind Rushmore Crossing. So when we get into the specific numbers, this is the breakdown for each project, units created, bedrooms created. So this is specifically what Vision Vision Fund impact is. You'll see the numbers there. So 328 total units thus far. When we look at dollars, the $5 million we got from Vision Funds into that number, we're able to impact 65 units per $1 million loaned. And then you'll see on the right-hand side there, that's a total of 629 bedrooms. Just loan specifics by projects, you can see exactly where the dollars went. Springs Edge was $1.25 million loan, Blackstone Flats $750,000, and Camden Heights at $3 million. A lot of these projects come online at very similar times every year, so you'll see the loan maturities are 39, 40, 41. So each year we're getting more traction and being able to impact more projects. Just additional project information, like I said, we're very cognizant of and very supportive of additional site services. So all those bullet points there next to the project names will tell you a little bit about additional things that are going on at those facilities. Rent ranges I want to note of on the right-hand side too. These projects run anywhere from 1 to 4 bedrooms in a unit. So when you get to the right-hand side and you see those higher numbers for Springs Edge and Blackstone Flats, those are for 3-bedroom units, will be those $1,300 rental areas. Camden Heights actually has 4-unit or 4-bedroom units, so that's where that 1651 number comes in. You'll see the percentages in AMI next to that. So AMI is the area median income. So a lot of the projects that we are working with currently, you'll see they're 40 to 60% of AMI. So those folks obviously lower end of the income spectrum, so harder for them to find quality housing. All right, happy to take any questions there may be.
Any questions? I noticed on one of the ones that was worked on with Lloyd's, I think last spring, some of us went to an open house. They had started one that looked very similar to that. It's out in Rapid Valley. Was that part of this too, or did that come before?
That came before the Strategic Housing Trust Fund got going. But, as Greg had mentioned, they're partnering with the Club for Boys again. That was a Club for Boys partnered project. So the Blackstone Flats, I believe it's called, it'll be remarkably similar to that one.
Do you know if that one's full or?
It's full, yeah. Springs Edge filled up, I think, right before they opened even.
Yeah, they take applications 30 to 60 days before they expect to be open, and usually they're full in that time period.
I think it's very positive for our community. And it was located close to an elementary and middle school too, which I think is really helpful too. But thank you very much. Anything else? Lindsay.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Chair. If I may ask a question, I was just curious, what were some of the impacts of the remaining funds? Have those funds been distributed or invested? I know we really focused on the 3 projects and the $5 million in Vision, but were there some other impacts with the total $11 million?
Yeah, I'll actually back up to that. So overall numbers, we talked about the units and bedrooms. So the 545 there, and we still have some capital, which is why we're considering those 3 current applications. And so that 545 is the overall number, and the 1074 bedrooms is the entire housing trust fund as of today. If we end up going the positive route and have good partnerships with the 3 applications, we're looking at about another 180 units.
Okay, thank you so much. I just really appreciate the work you're doing. I think this is a great value add in the community. The Camden Heights project was an incredible public-private partnership with the city able to come in and support through the TIF district, and I feel like this is a really innovative solution to address some of these needs. Do you foresee in the future expanding to single-family units at all if we're able to look at those needs in the community? I know apartment units are necessary too, but we really are looking for investment opportunities for entry-level families
Yeah, definitely. So where we're at today is really driven by the applications we've received. Since I've come on board, I've spent a lot of time doing research with other communities in the nation that have similar or worse situations than we do. Places like Jackson Hole, even Sky Ridge outside of Spearfish, looking at deed restrictions and different things we can do to make sure that those units, when we do get to single family projects, can remain affordable.
Yeah, and if I may just add, that's the great thing about the Housing Trust Fund is it doesn't lock us into one thing, right? And so today we're focused on multifamily because that's the need, right? We've seen our vacancy rates. We know that there's just not enough affordable apartment complexes. That might not be the need 10 years from now. The Housing Trust Fund will still be here, and we may focus on single family at that time. We've had some conversations with developers already about single family and how the Housing Trust Fund could be used maybe to purchase a piece of land and then loan back. So it's definitely something we're thinking about and we'll continue to look at.
Great. Thank you so much. Appreciate the information.
Thank you. We'll go to Councilman Kevin Maher.
Yeah, I have a quick question. So when these projects are completed and they're filled up and the rents start coming in, does 5% of the principal that's paid go back, accounting wise, go back into that isolated vision fund pot?
So the Black Hills Area Community Foundation takes a small management fee. So if it's a loan of 3%, for example, we would take 1% of that. The other 2% would then go back into that vision fund, and so we can revolve it back and loan it back out. You'll see on those loans that most of the maturity is 15 to 17 years, and that's really predicated on the low-income housing tax credits. That's the time when the limited partnership in the low-income housing tax credits exits, and so that's the time that they're able to then repay the entire loan.
Okay, so as that money comes in, these folks are getting a below market interest rate. Does any of that interest go back to the vision fund too?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And that's the entire, it goes back into the Housing Trust Fund vision fund, right? At the
So
Black Hills Area
like
Community
annually,
Foundation.
you could report to us how the fund's doing,
Yeah, absolutely.
so that we just know
Yeah.
that we can follow the success of strategic housing. Yeah.
Absolutely, and you'll see the loan amounts there. That's $5 million. We also do a 10% loan loss reserve to cover us in case something should happen, and so that's the entirety of what the Vision Fund is. Will be these 3 projects until we start to get annual loan payments back and revolve those.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Chris, did you present at Public Works yesterday?
I did not.
Are you planning to be at the City Council Monday?
We got asked to present at City Council. It didn't work in our schedules until the September meeting. So we will be presenting at the September, I believe it's the 4th, the first Tuesday.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, have a motion to acknowledge. Motion to acknowledge by Sechrist and a second by Maher. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Next, we'll go back to the Finance Department for introduction and first reading of ordinance number 6605, an ordinance repealing Chapter 1.08 of the Rapid City Municipal Code relating to wards and precincts and adopting a new revised Chapter 1.08 of the Rapid City Municipal Code. Director Ainsley?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I really want to give credit to Carla from the City Attorney's Office, who really spearheaded and did essentially all the work on this item. What does occur is that as the community continues to grow and there's new areas that get annexed, we need to ensure that those areas that are annexed are placed properly into the adjoining wards and that the legal descriptions are changed so that once there's a municipal election, they're able to vote. There's some coordination with the county to ensure that the county that administers the elections, that it coincides with the various different other boundaries for the other governmental entities, and that has been completed. And so we do recommend that you proceed with approval of the first reading.
We'll go to Councilwoman Sechrist.
Thank you, Chair. I just had a quick question for you, Director Ainsley. at this time, we're just annexing in these communities that, or into our zoning districts. What does, how do we in the future prepare for ward distribution when you have significant population growth, like say, for example, in Ward 2 in the northeast sector of town, in the Valley area? How does that process play out? I'm just out of curiosity. Thank you.
Proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The wards have to be reallocated once the new census figures come out, which is usually about 2 years after the completion of the census, and so probably somewhere around 2032 is when we would be reallocating the population in the wards. At that point, I believe each wards have to be within 10%, I believe, of each other of the population. Don't quote me on that. It might be 5. It's been a couple years since I've done that. But until then, you're right. As there's growth in some wards, you do start having disparity in several wards, but we're not able to make those changes because they have to be based off of actual census numbers, not census estimates. And so we have to wait until the 2030 census numbers come out, which would probably be about 2032. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Councilman Evans.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a suggestion that in the future, we maybe consider the demographics of how the wards are divided up. For instance, I don't think that Pinedale Heights has a lot in common with the West Boulevard area in terms of the problems they face with one of the oldest parts of the city and one of the newest parts of the city. We look at Ward 2, where Ms. Seacrest and I live, and it's little by little been shifting farther and farther east. So we've got very, very old infrastructure from late 1800s. Also, we've got brand new infrastructure and that. And I wish there was a way that we could set up our wards so they actually contain the problems of that ward rather than spread it out that way. For instance, Ward 2 could be a more centrally located one, and we could concern ourselves with the problems that have to do with old infrastructure and older neighborhoods, whereas all of these new developments on the fridge, you know, they have a completely different set of priorities than the ones that we have. So in the future, maybe we need to start considering that when we reallocate the wards. Just wanted to make that comment. Thank you.
And I have a quick comment. Thank you, Daniel, and thank you. I guess Carla's not here, but obviously this was a lot of work to put all of this together, as Director Ainsley mentioned, and the Assistant City Attorney, Ms. Cushman, did quite a bit of this work. I've never seen so many legal descriptions in one place, but it also is kind of meaningless, and I just to look at. So I was wondering if before Monday, when we have this come before the council, if we would attach a map showing these things so we have a general idea what we're talking about instead of a bunch of legal descriptions. So that's just one request I have. Okay, anything else? On 19 and 20?
On 19.
Oh, excuse me. Okay, 19. Motion by Seacrest and second by Evans to approve 19. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. And now we go to Alderman items. Alderman Bieberdorf, a request from Alderman Bieberdorf to direct city staff bring forward an ordinance amending, changing the hours during which alcoholic beverages can be sold for off-sale consumption from 7 a.m. to midnight to 10 a.m. to midnight. Mr. Bieberdorf?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This just came to me from meeting with concerned citizens, number one, about drunkenness in our town, and then first responders as well. And the ask here today is simply for this committee to direct staff, the attorney's office, to bring back the ordinance from 2020 to the full council on Monday night. This was tabled in 2020. I'm not sure why, but it was tabled in 2020. So the ordinance is already written and it's already there. We're just directing staff to bring that. And the real concerns are people getting out of detox at 6 a.m., alcohol sales starting at 7 a.m., and the cycle just keeps going. very taxing on our first responders in our town. So I believe to give them a little break in there for our team to get more resources and let them have a running shot at the process. And number two, for our citizens in our community, that if we can have some time for sobriety, that we can get them to some of our resources in our town to help them along that process as well. So the ask today from myself is simply to bring the ordinance from 2020 back to the full council meeting for its first hearing on Monday night.
Go to Councilman Maher.
Well, if I could, I would like to make a motion that we ask legal to prepare that ordinance so that the full council can review it on Monday evening.
Well, can I go to the city attorney just in terms of time-wise and publication, will you kind of give us some guidance on what we can do here?
Yeah, one of the issues is individual council members can't direct that an ordinance be drafted. I can direct an ordinance be drafted. Usually when I do that, it's not a policy question. It's some cleanup that, say, one of the departments has asked me to do. The mayor can direct an ordinance be drafted, or the council can direct an ordinance be drafted. So this is the process for the council to direct me to draft the ordinance. So actually, this is a recommendation to the council on Monday night to direct me to draft an ordinance. So assuming it passes, I would bring the ordinance back at the next Legal and Finance, and it would go through the normal process. So Alderman Bieberdorf is correct. This actually wouldn't be a lot of work at this point. There was a draft from several years ago. I would have to go through it and update it and make sure everything looks good. But I would not anticipate bringing it forward Monday night. I think if the council approves, a majority of the council directs us to draft it, then we would bring it forward on the next agenda.
Okay, thank you, Joel. Go back to Kevin Maher.
So what do we have to do to get this on the agenda then from Monday?
Go ahead.
I think you have to move to direct me to bring forward the ordinance amendment. I need a majority. You know, this is a strange one because we already have a draft and it's not a lot of work, but the idea is, and the reason for the rules, they don't want a single council person to come say, ask for an ordinance that's going to be 10 pages long and take hours of work, and then it goes on an agenda and it's immediately tabled or something, that there's sufficient council support to justify the work. So this is just following the process. So if you direct me to, I think the motion was to direct me to draft the ordinance. If you approve that and it's approved on Monday night by a majority of the council, then we'll bring forward the ordinance amendment. The only issue I had was bringing forward the actual first reading on Monday night because it hasn't gone through the Legal and Finance Committee, the actual ordinance.
Go ahead.
Well, I'll withdraw that motion that I made then, and let's go through the process correctly.
Then your motion would be to direct the city attorney to bring forth an ordinance?
Go to the full council to make that vote.
Move forward.
Yeah.
Full council for consideration on Monday. I second.
Are we good, Joel?
Yeah, I think just so it's clear, you're recommending to the full council that they direct I bring forward the ordinance.
Thank you. So we have a motion by, Community Development wants to get in.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just as a reminder, in 2020, the ordinance that's been referenced today was tabled. There was public input at that time in opposition of the ordinance. And so I do think that you need to follow the instructions provided by Joel so that the actual ordinance itself can be of public record for the public to review, so that in 2 meetings for council, then you can take those public comments as well. And again, it's just including the public in your decision-making.
Great, thank you. I'll go back to Councilman Bieberdorf.
So Joel, just for clarification, it won't be on the first reading next Monday. Will not.
Yes, that's correct. It won't be first reading. It'll be at the following meeting will be first reading.
Thank you. So we have a motion by Maher and a second by Sechrist to bring it to council on Monday whether we would instruct the city attorney's office as a council to amend the ordinance. And all in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we'll quick go to Bill Evans.
I just want to take a moment to thank Councilman Roseland for his work on the Alice Gossage Memorial. I know that you helped make sure that that thing did not get destroyed and was saved. And, you know, every once in a while, our efforts actually get something accomplished. So I want to thank you for doing that. Thanks.
Thank you. We have a motion to adjourn by Sechrist, a second by Maher. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. We're adjourned. Joel, got a quick question? Okay. Okay, so for several months, I mean, last spring, we had a little deal about